It's still August 10th. I can't stress enough how much I am so grateful for my clients, because I learn so much. Like the interaction, I learn from the interaction with where they are, where they're struggling. You know, I'm just reflecting on this role, this teaching role, and how I help clients, deconstruct, become more aware of what they're holding on to, right? That needs shifting, that needs changing. And then when I share certain information, the questions they ask back, that's how I'm learning. And it helps me continue to break down the information into bite-sized pieces, right? Into digestible, abstract concepts, right? And break it down into their everyday life, right? Something that they could see. And that was the theme this morning, is how to do that, how to meet my client where they're at in terms of their learning. It goes back because they each learn differently, and so it challenges me to teach it in a different way, to highlight things in a different way so that they can see it and understand it and retain the information in a different way. And there's gratitude in having had that educational background first, and continuing to be open from learning from my clients versus presenting myself as the be-all know-all for their healing journey. And yeah, just to be able to do that is really neat. And to see them feel relief. That was the other thing I was thinking about. I'm like, I was a little struggling with presenting, this proposition to my friend about, like, I don't have money, but I have wisdom, right? And I'm perfected. I'm like, I have wisdom. I'm like, yeah, I have wisdom. I have, 2 years of just dedicated to my healing, being aware of the patterns, seeing it, the things that just have been highlighted. And then wondering, like, is it worth anything? That's what I was struggling with a little this morning. I was like, was it worth anything? But I'm putting courses together, right? And my clients are responding to it. That's the thing. So I'm getting that validation of, like, yeah, it is worth it. It's totally worth it, because they're finding relief. They're finding emotional relief, with what I'm sharing, with my words, right? With my words. Yeah. There was something else. I think just the appreciation of where I am. To be able to see that, to be able to reflect on these past 2 years and identify what those golden nuggets are, right? And then apply it in a different way. There was something else. What was I going to say? Oh, and the reason why it popped up in my head, this awareness that I'm like, oh, I take abstract concepts and I break it down. So I'm not making it, I break it down for the average folk. I had heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I hope I'm saying his name right. Never really took the time to listen to him speak until recently with an interview with Jay Shetty. And hearing that, and I'm still here, it's a long interview, and I'm sitting with the words that he's choosing to say, and it's all sciencey, right? He has a science background and research and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it makes, I understand it. I understand what he's saying. I understand the abstract concepts. But because of the populations that I've worked with, and I'm just like, the average person doesn't get it. Like, I mean, I understand it, but not completely. I understand enough to get the concept of it. But if that's me, and I know that I'm usually a little more above average, slightly more, not too much, but enough to know that I can pick stuff up quickly. And then I look at where my clients are, and when you're emotionally struggling, your ability to concentrate and retain information gets impaired. It gets impacted, not impaired, impacted. And so it makes it harder to concentrate, to stay focused, to learn. I mean, that's what we learned about trauma with kids, is that children who've experienced trauma have a higher, have more difficulty learning. Now, again, everything on a spectrum, right? But for the most part, that's what I know about children. And if adults are used to be children, right? And if they never really got through that process of healing, that means their ability to process information is still going to be impacted to a certain degree, right? So yeah, it's great that we had Dr. Joe Dispenza, blah, 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 speaking big terms, but this is like at least all of us, like, you know? So that's what I realized. I'm just like, yeah, I get it, but give me examples. Like, it's very, very up here. But again, it was only one interview that I listened to, but even some other people, like, I listened to that other guy. What's that other guy? The young kid, Howard, how's something. I'm not good with names to remember, but he does a lot of interviews with important people too, and it's the same thing. It's like, these are really long interviews. If I have the time to really sit, yeah, it's one of those, like, I have to consider it a mini course, right? Or pause it and then come back to it, pause it and then come back to it, which is like mine, right? This first course is 2.5 hours long. But the way I'm setting it up is in chunks, but it's more practical, right? So it's interesting how we all serve a purpose though, right? They're purposefully targeting a certain population, right? They're purposeful. We're all on the same side. You know, even thinking about Christina Lopes and this realization that I had, right? That her population, her audience is more empaths and highly sensitive people, right? And so that's why this last video, I'm just like, that doesn't make sense for me. I'm somewhere in the middle. That's why, right? I'm not so much of an empath like other people, where they're able just to pick up the energy quickly. Their purpose is different. They're supposed to be impacted because that's how quick they're supposed to transmute it once they're aware. And that's what I was telling one of my clients, because he identifies as an empath, and that's where we left off last week, was entertaining this idea of a light worker, and he shared, you know, I'm not the first person who made that comment to him, but he wasn't sure what it was about, so I shared Christina Lopez's video, and then today just like, yeah, totally, I was like, okay. And that was what I suspected, but you know, to each their own in terms of how they view themselves and identify. And so it was cool. It was cool to be able to be aware of the different extremes, right? And normalize it. That's really what it is. It's normalizing it versus adding that something's wrong with you. It's like, no, that's not normal. It's like, no, we're all on a spectrum of functioning, right? My normal is going to be different than your normal. So, I don't know. I was just grateful for my clients, for this awareness, for this ability to interact and learn from my interactions, and continue to be humbled in terms of how I'm delivering information. And I'm making notes like, okay, remember to include this, because that's what I'm doing right now. And I hadn't thought about that until my client presented me with it. So I'm grateful. I continue to be grateful. That's all. It's the how. That's what's missing. I'm still listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm finishing up that interview with Jay Shetty, and the focus in that interview is all about closer to that end result, right? Closer to the purpose of you know, being there, right? Being over there. And that's what my other client was saying. When you read all these self-help books, when you read all these self-help books, right? And these speakers and motivational speakers and stuff, they're always talking about that end result, right? And I remember my client, she came to me, she was struggling. She's just like, how do I get there? She's like, when I'm over here. That's what I realized right now, just listening to it. I'm helping bridge that gap. I'm helping bridge that gap for people who feel stuck, right? With the how-to, the practical, like, what do you do every day? What do you do every day? Focus on the day, focus on the moment. Wherever you are, owning where you are, right? They're painting the picture of this outcome of success, right? They're painting the picture of this is where I'm at. And I've never taken any of their courses, so I can't speak for how, or been to any of their seminar presentations. So I don't know if it's all strictly motivational speaking, or if there's the practicality of it, or, like how to sustain it, how to sustain that momentum, really. That's what I was thinking about. So I wonder if that's why I'm, somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. Yeah. Maybe I'll add this to the other one. We'll see. Hey you, my name is Yubi and I use she, they pronouns, and you've just finished watching a clip from my video diary entries where I'm documenting my healing journey as I learn how to navigate my spiritual awakening. I have learned that this experience and process is unique to each and every one of us in whatever way we are embracing living our truth. This just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of formal mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself as these experiences unfold, and really inviting you along for the ride. Please know that there is a time gap between when these videos post and my real timeline, and also that these clips build upon each other similar to chapters in a book. So if you find yourself lost or confused, feel free to click on the playlist section or the link below, where you can jump around, check out the other chapters, and or catch up. Also, please know that you're more than welcome to check out my website, www.youbecominghealed.com, where I've gathered all of this information, my background, experience, and education to create online self-paced courses to help you on your healing journey wherever you are. You're also more than welcome to check out my other YouTube channel at You Becoming Healed, where I've entertained a podcast, including clips from these courses so that I can make this content accessible to more and more people. Please click like, subscribe, and share this content so again it reaches more people, with the hopes that other people will resonate and connect with the healing journey and the stories shared so that they don't feel alone in their own process. I thank you in advance. I'm grateful to you, and I wish you well.